This is Modern Service Mastery, business school with boots on. Real lessons, real talk, and real growth for the residential service industry. Let's get to work.
All right, so the 80-20 rule for equipment ownership is kind of a game changer. Here's the deal. You've got all this gear, right? But 80% of your work, it's being tackled by just 20% of the equipment. That's your essential gear. The rest, it's probably sitting around, taking up space and tying up cash.
Yeah, like that busted auger our crew hasn't touched in months because, let's face it, hand digging feels faster than fixing the thing at this point. But wait, how do you start figuring out which stuff's really pulling its weight?
Great question. You've got to track usage, runtime hours, project types, even who's using what and when. Tools like ToolWatch or Tenna make it easier. They log all that data and show you patterns. It's like, putting your equipment under a spotlight.
Spotlight, huh? Maybe that auger wasn't ready for its close-up. But, Mike, how's this work in real life, though? Give me, like, a hero story, or actually a horror story. Those are even better.
Oh, I've got one. Years back, we had this trencher. I thought it was the workhorse of the fleet. Turns out it was used maybe 3 times a year. And here's the silent debt. Just sitting there, it was costing us storage, insurance, maintenance, you name it.
Wait, so not using it was still bleeding you dry?
Exactly. We ran the numbers, and guess what? We could have rented it the few times we actually needed it and saved thousands. Once I saw that, it was like lifting a fog. It wasn't an asset. It was just a liability.
And that's why people say, idle gear is silent debt, huh? I mean, honestly, that's stuck in my head now. It's one thing to look busy on the job site, but dead weight, that slows everyone down.
Exactly. When you focus on the 20% you truly need, everything else becomes clear. And look, planning that out isn't just about cutting costs. It's about raising productivity, right? The efficiency translates to better results for the whole team.
Makes sense. Less clutter, less hassle, more action. Okay, so between ToolWatch and the rent versus buy calculator in the additional resources section, or even a basic spreadsheet, it's all about digging into the data. But I'm betting the big money idea isn't just this.
Nope. The 80-20 rule sets the stage, but up next is the 50% rule. That's where the real purchasing wisdom kicks in. All right, so we've talked about pinpointing your essential gear with the 80-20 rule. Now let's take it a step further with the 50% rule. This one's super practical, Jake. It's basically a litmus test for deciding whether to rent or buy a piece of equipment. If you're spending more than 50% of what that gear would cost annually just on rentals, you really got to think about buying instead.
Okay, got it. But let's hit this with some real numbers. What's an example? Like, lay it out for me, Mike.
Sure thing. Imagine you're renting a trencher for $400 a month. That's $4,800 a year. Now, if buying that same trencher costs $7,500, guess what? You've hit 64% of the purchase price just by renting. At that point, buying is the smarter move, assuming, of course, you have the storage and you're using it regularly.
Right. But what about stuff you don't use all that often? Like, I don't know, say a mini excavator. We had this debate on our crew not too long ago. We kept renting one, and yeah, it gets the job done, but some of the guys started grumbling.
Oh yeah? What were they saying?
Well, the back and forth of picking it up and hauling it around, with everyone waiting, was starting to mess with morale. At one point, someone was like, why don't we just buy one already? It kind of became a thing.
Classic scenario. And look, that downtime from dragging rental machines around, that's not just wasted time, it's hidden labor costs. Hours you're not billing, but definitely paying for. Did you guys crunch any numbers on it?
Not yet. Honestly, we got caught up arguing about winter storage and whether it'd just sit there like some overpriced trophy for half the year.
A valid concern. That's why the 50% rule needs to go hand in hand with tracking your actual usage. If a piece of equipment isn't going to pay for itself within that benchmark, you probably want to stick to renting. But here's the wild card. Buying used at the right price changes the game. Think about resale value and what you can get back 3 or 5 years down the road.
A low-hour machine with good maintenance records. Huh. All right, but what about taxes and write-offs? That's got to play into this too, right?
Great question, Jake. Since you brought up taxes and write-offs, let's dig into how understanding the financial landscape can not only justify a purchase, but also maximize your savings over time.
Yeah, like Section 179. That's the one everyone always talks about, but assumes someone else knows how it works. Honestly, Mike, break it down for me. How does it help with equipment?
Okay, real simple. Section 179 lets businesses write off the full cost of qualifying equipment. Basically, instead of slowly depreciating the cost over time, you get the tax benefits up front, reducing your taxable income for the year you made the purchase.
So, like an instant discount in a way?
Kind of, yeah. But here's the thing. Just because you can write something off doesn't mean you should buy it. You still need to make sure it'll actually earn its keep. Like we talked about earlier, you've got to run the numbers on usage and return on investment.
And if it's just sitting there looking pretty, it's more of a liability, right?
Exactly. That's where life cycle planning comes in. It's about predicting the lifespan of your equipment, how long it's useful before it costs more to maintain than it's worth. Airlines have this down to a science. They know when to retire planes years in advance to avoid breakdowns and downtime.
Right, so you're saying we should think of our skid steers and mini excavators like jets?
You got it. Plan ahead, track when you bought the equipment, how it's performing, and when it'll need replacing. That way, you're not caught off guard when something breaks down or loses its efficiency.
Okay, but what's the easiest way to do that? Spreadsheets, apps, telepathy?
Definitely not telepathy, Jake. You can start as simple as a spreadsheet. Just list your purchase dates, service records, projected trade-in values, and estimated replacement timelines. But honestly, we've made it easier than that. Use the equipment ROI and retirement tracker to calculate cost per hour and plan smart replacements, and check out the equipment reference guide to benchmark typical maintenance costs, useful life, and resale values. You'll find both of these tools in the additional resources section of this chapter. They're custom built to align with what we've been talking about, so you can jump right in and start making more profitable, data-driven equipment decisions, starting today.
Perfect. So instead of reacting to problems, you're staying ahead of them. Kind of like setting your crew up for success before the day even starts.
Exactly. And don't forget to factor in things like attachments, augers, tampers, trenchers. They're part of the system, not just add-ons.
Got it. So let's recap real quick here. You've got the 50% rule for buy versus rent, the 80-20 rule for figuring out what's essential, and now life cycle planning and tax strategies to tie it all together. And we have custom tools in the additional resources section for this stuff. Honestly, that's kind of huge.
It is. And if there's one takeaway, it's this. Your equipment isn't just a cost, it's a strategy. Plan it well, maintain it smartly, and it'll serve your crew and your bottom line for years.
And probably save a ton of headaches, too. Honestly, I kind of want to build out that spreadsheet now. It sounds like it'll make my life way easier.
Do it. And for everyone tuning in, take action. Start tracking your top 10 pieces of equipment, talk to your accountant about Section 179, and create your own retirement tracker. Small steps, big results.
And seriously, do yourself a favor. If it's on site every week, own it. If it's only useful once in a while, rent it and keep your cash moving. That's some wisdom to live by right there.
Absolutely, and that's a wrap for today, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us. Remember, every great project starts with great planning.
Oh, and don't forget to be kind to yourself and enjoy your success. You've earned it.
Amen to that. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Modern Service Mastery Business School with Boots On. If this episode helped you lead, grow, or think differently, share it with your crew and keep the momentum going.